Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that too many people forget in this fast-paced, self-centered world. What you do for others determines what heaven does for you. You don't need to chase protection, chase favor, or chase peace. All you have to do is serve with a sincere heart, and the protection of God will chase you down. I'm not talking about karma. I'm not talking about the universe giving you what you give it. No, I'm talking about something higher. I'm talking about the God who sees in secret and rewards in the open. The God who says, do good, love mercy, walk humbly, and then says, I got you covered. Most people walk through life waiting for a miracle, hoping for protection, looking for favor, without realizing that the key to unlocking all of that is already in their hands. It's not complicated. It doesn't require a theology degree. It doesn't demand perfection. It only requires one thing, the willingness to do good for others, because when you do good, not for attention, not for recognition, but out of a pure heart, you step into a divine principle that triggers something in the spiritual realm. That kind of goodness is not random, it's strategic. It sends a signal to heaven that says this one can be trusted. Divine protection isn't something you earn with good behavior. It's something you activate with intentional goodness. And when I say goodness, I don't mean just smiling at strangers or dropping coins in a charity box. I'm talking about the kind of good that inconveniences you, the kind that stretches your time, your resources, your comfort zone, the kind that shows up when no one's watching, because real goodness is often hidden, but its rewards are always revealed. Every time you help someone who can't help you back, every time you forgive when you had every right to hold a grudge, every time you put someone else's needs before your own, you are building spiritual equity. You are planting seeds that heaven cannot ignore, and the God who sees what is done in secret, he doesn't just bless you with applause, he surrounds you with protection. He orders angels to cover you, shields you from attacks you'll never even see coming, and prepares pathways you didn't know you needed. That's why goodness isn't weak. Goodness is powerful. It is one of the most potent spiritual weapons a person can carry. In a world obsessed with taking, competing, and dominating, a person who chooses to give, who chooses to serve, who chooses to uplift, that person walks in an authority most people can't understand. Because the hand of God rests heavily on those who reflect his nature. And what is his nature? Mercy, grace, generosity, love, truth, all of it wrapped in action. You don't need to manipulate life when you're covered by God. You don't have to stress every threat, every risk, every unknown. Because when you've made it your mission to serve others, you've already aligned yourself with heaven's priorities. And when you align with God's priorities, God aligns your path with his protection. Think about it. Every story in Scripture where someone stepped out in service, in faith, in love toward others, divine intervention wasn't far behind. Whether it was Moses defending his people, Ruth choosing loyalty and kindness over comfort, or the Good Samaritan stepping across cultural boundaries to care for a stranger, each time someone did good at personal cost, God's hand moved to cover them. Not only were they protected, but they were elevated. The protection of God isn't just about keeping harm away, it's about positioning you to rise. But here's what we have to remember. This is not a transaction. This is not do good and get rewarded. This is transformation. When you make goodness your lifestyle, protection becomes your inheritance. It becomes part of the atmosphere around you. You start walking through life knowing, not guessing, not hoping, but knowing that God has your back. And let me tell you, when you know you're protected by God, you move differently. You don't panic when storms hit. You don't fall apart when people walk away. You don't retreat when resistance shows up. Why? Because your confidence isn't in circumstances. It's not even in your own strength. Your confidence is in the covenant, the spiritual agreement that says, if you take care of my people, I'll take care of you. That's what God whispers over the faithful. That's what he promises to those who go about doing good even when it's unpopular, uncomfortable, or unseen. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the most connected. You just need to be good, genuinely, consistently, relentlessly good to others, because that goodness speaks louder in heaven than talent ever will. And when heaven hears it, protection follows like a shadow that never leaves your side. When you bless others who can't bless you back, something shifts in the spiritual realm. It's easy to do good for someone who can return the favor, someone who holds influence, someone who can elevate your name or open doors for you. But when you show kindness to someone who has no power, no platform, no ability to benefit you in any way, that's when the heavens lean in and take notice. That's when favor begins to flow, not because of your status, but because of your spirit. True favor doesn't come from people. It doesn't come from systems. It doesn't come from hustle. Favor is something only God can grant, and he gives it freely to those who reflect his heart. And what is his heart? His heart is always toward the vulnerable, the forgotten, the outcast, the hurting. When you extend your hand to someone the world has overlooked, you are acting as an agent of divine mercy, and the God who is full of mercy rewards those who carry out his mission. There is a kind of generosity that touches the heart of God, not the generosity that's meant to be seen, not the performance-driven charity that seeks applause, but the kind that says, even if no one ever sees this, I'm going to do what's right. That's the kind of blessing that releases supernatural favor. When your motive is pure, your hands clean, and your giving comes from compassion, not calculation, you tap into a favor that no man can stop. Many people chase connections, networking, alignment with people in power, hoping that proximity to influence will unlock doors. But what if the real key is humility? What if the fastest way up is actually to stoop low and lift someone else? That's a kingdom principle. In the kingdom of God, the last shall be first. The servant becomes the greatest. The one who gives to the least is considered to have given to the king himself. That's not symbolic. That's not metaphor. That's reality in the spiritual realm. When you bless the broken, you're not just being nice. You're activating favor. When you sacrifice for someone who has nothing to offer you in return, you are demonstrating that you trust God to be your source, not man. And trust always attracts favor, because God says, if you'll trust me enough to pour out without expecting payback, I'll fill your cup in ways you can't imagine. The blessing doesn't always come from the person you helped. Most of the time, it comes from somewhere completely unexpected, because that's how favor works. It doesn't follow logic. It follows obedience. You may sow goodness into someone's life today and see no immediate return. In fact, it might feel like no one noticed, but in heaven, the record is marked. In heaven, the seed is planted, and in due season, favor will find you. It may show up as a job you didn't apply for, a connection you didn't pursue, a door you didn't knock on. But it opens, and it opens because you made it your mission to do good when it wasn't convenient, when it didn't come with a benefit. That's the paradox of favor. You don't get it by chasing it. You get it by forgetting about it, by focusing on blessing others instead. Favor chases those who chase compassion. The more you care for those who can't repay you, the more God steps in and says, now that's someone I can trust with more. Because if you're faithful with a little, especially when that little is a small act of goodness towards someone hurting, God will make you ruler over much. People may never understand why your life starts to accelerate, why opportunities start to fall in your lap, why provision seems to follow you wherever you go, but you'll know. You'll know it's not because of who you knew, it's because of who you served. You'll know it's not because you promoted yourself, it's because you promoted someone else when they had nothing. You blessed the one no one saw, and now God is blessing you in ways no one can deny. That's favor. And favor is never random. It's always tied to a heart posture. When your heart is tuned to helping others, when you make compassion a lifestyle rather than an occasional act, you become a magnet for divine reward. Because God's eyes are always on the ones who reflect his nature, and his favor is his way of saying, well done, keep going, I'm with you. God's protection does not rest on perfection, it rests on faithfulness. This is a truth that many overlook while chasing the illusion of flawlessness. People get stuck in the idea that they must have every piece of their life together before they can walk in divine favor or experience God's covering. They believe they need to be spotless, sinless, without error before they qualify for protection, but that's not how God operates. If that were the case, no one would be worthy of his hand over their life. The truth is, God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for faithful people. Faithfulness means showing up with your heart right, even when your life isn't perfect. It means choosing to keep doing good when it would be easier to do nothing. It means staying committed to righteousness even when no one sees it or celebrates it. God responds to faithfulness because faithfulness is a reflection of trust. When you're faithful in doing good, faithful in honoring others, faithful in walking with integrity, you are telling heaven, I may not be perfect, but I'm available, I'm willing, I'm obedient. And God can do more with a willing heart than he ever could with a polished image. Perfection is a myth, and chasing it will exhaust you. God never asked for flawless execution. He asked for obedience, and that obedience shows up most clearly when you keep doing good in an imperfect world, even when you yourself are still being shaped and refined. You might still struggle, you might still fall short, but if you're faithful to get up, to keep showing love, to keep helping others, God will meet you there. He honors that, he protects that. The enemy would love to convince you that you're not good enough to be protected. That because of your past, because of your weaknesses, you're disqualified from divine covering, but that's a lie. The Word says that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness, not in our accomplishments, not in our reputation, but in our weakness. That means if you're faithful to do good even when you feel unqualified, God will not only use you, he will surround you with protection, because faithfulness in weakness is one of the most powerful declarations of trust you can give. Take a look at the people God protected in Scripture. David was a man after God's heart, but he was far from perfect. He made mistakes, serious ones, but he was faithful. He repented, he pursued God, and he continued to serve his people. God protected him again and again, not because he was flawless, but because he was devoted. Ruth was a foreigner with no status, no power, and no security, yet she remained faithful to her family and to the path of righteousness. And what did God do? He surrounded her with provision and brought her into divine legacy. Faithfulness moves the heart of God in a way that perfection never will, because perfection is about self-glory. Faithfulness is about God's glory. When you say, I'll keep doing what's right even when it's hard, even when I don't see results, even when I feel unworthy, you are placing your trust in the one who sees the full picture, and that trust invites divine intervention. It's not the perfect who are protected, it's the persistent, the ones who don't quit, the ones who still give, still love, still serve, still believe even after being wounded. Those are the ones God wraps in divine armor. Not because they earned it, but because they trusted him to be their strength while they kept walking in obedience. And let's be clear, being faithful doesn't mean being passive, it's active. It's choosing to keep going when giving up would be easier. It's choosing to show kindness even when you're not receiving it. It's standing in truth even when lies surround you. That kind of spiritual discipline attracts protection because it proves your alignment with God's nature. God doesn't require your perfection to protect you. He requires your commitment. He requires your willingness to step into the lives of others and do good even when your own situation is still being healed. And when he sees that kind of faithfulness, his covering comes, not just over your actions, but over your entire life. You won't always see the battles he blocks. You won't always know the dangers he detours. But rest assured, if you are faithful, you are covered. Faithfulness is the invitation, protection is the response. There are times in life when you'll feel like nothing's happening, like you're doing the right thing, helping people, being kind, sowing good seeds, and yet trouble still finds you. Attacks come, challenges rise, people misunderstand you or turn against you, and in those moments you might ask, where is God? But what you don't see is just how much God is doing behind the scenes to protect you from things you'll never even know were coming. When you do good for others, when you choose to walk in love and humility, you invite the kind of divine protection that fights battles before they reach your front door. God doesn't just react to problems, he prevents them. And often, his greatest acts of protection are the ones you never notice. That phone call that didn't go through, that opportunity you missed, that person who suddenly disappeared from your life. You may have seen it as a loss, but it might have been God blocking something that would have harmed you. You thought it was rejection, but it was actually redirection. You thought it was a delay, but it was divine defense. When you're committed to doing good, especially when it costs you something, God takes personal responsibility for your well-being. He shields you from danger even when you're unaware of it, and this isn't just about physical protection. It's emotional, spiritual, financial, and relational. God will guard your peace, your heart, your path, and your purpose. But the key to unlocking that covering is in your posture. Are you living for yourself, or are you living to bless others? Because the more you pour out goodness, the more God pours out protection. The protection of God is proactive. That's why you'll never fully comprehend how many traps you've avoided simply because of the way you've treated others. You thought your life was just going smooth, but it's not smooth by accident, it's smooth by favor. The kindness you showed to someone years ago is still echoing through eternity. The mercy you extended to someone who hurt you is still working for your good. The generosity you gave when you barely had enough is still speaking on your behalf in heaven. This is the mystery of doing good. You think you're blessing someone else, but in reality, you're setting a shield around your own life. You think you're sowing into their healing, but God is sowing into your protection. Every good deed, every act of love, every selfless choice is a spiritual deposit. And God is a God who never forgets a seed planted in faith. He never overlooks a quiet act of compassion, and he never lets those moments go unrewarded. Sometimes you'll walk through situations that should have destroyed you, but they didn't. You'll look back and realize that you were covered the whole time. You'll remember how close that breakdown came, or how quickly that conflict could have escalated, or how near that betrayal was, and you'll realize that the only reason you made it through was because of grace. But grace doesn't move randomly. It follows purpose. It follows obedience. It follows goodness. You don't have to chase after protection. You just have to walk in alignment with the heart of God, and the heart of God is for others. When you live to bless others, heaven lives to bless you. That means while you're busy helping someone else, God is busy solving problems for you. While you're carrying someone's burden, he's lifting yours. While you're defending someone with no voice, he's defending you in rooms you'll never enter. And don't make the mistake of thinking protection means nothing bad will ever happen. Sometimes storms will come, but God will carry you through. Sometimes enemies will rise up, but their weapons won't prosper. Sometimes people will try to tear you down, but you'll keep standing because your foundation is rooted in righteousness. And when you do good, that righteousness becomes your covering. The greatest insurance policy in life is obedience. The strongest bodyguard you can have is a lifestyle of compassion. There is no force more powerful than divine protection, and that protection is assigned to those who walk in love, mercy, and justice. You won't always see it happening, but believe this: when you bless others, God goes before you. He stands beside you, he watches behind you, and he blocks what you were never meant to fight. That is the kind of covering no enemy can break through. In a world that constantly encourages self-preservation, self-promotion, and self-centered ambition, choosing to do good is not always easy, it's not always comfortable, it's not always rewarded by the people around you. But it is always worth it when you make the decision to be a light in a dark world, to show up for others even when no one shows up for you, to give, love, serve, and bless without expecting anything in return. You are doing more than just being nice. You are changing the trajectory of your life. You are stepping into a rhythm that aligns you with divine purpose and supernatural covering. Doing good is not a moment, it's a mindset. It's not a single act, it's a lifestyle. And when you choose to live that way consistently, it changes everything. It changes how you see people. It changes how you respond to pain. It changes how you handle conflict. And more than anything, it changes what God releases into your life. Because when you carry his heart, you attract his hand. When you mirror his kindness, you draw his favor. When you serve his children, he makes sure you are protected, promoted, and provided for. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect. Doing good doesn't eliminate trials, but it does activate triumph. It doesn't prevent storms, but it gives you peace in the middle of them. The truth is, we live in a broken world, People will still lie, situations will still shift, and challenges will still arise. But when your default setting is goodness, you never face those things alone. God backs those who carry His Spirit, and His Spirit is never about selfish gain. It's always about sacrificial love. There's a power in choosing to do good when others expect you to retaliate. When someone disrespects you and you respond with grace, you are making a choice that heaven honors. When you help someone who can never repay you, you are sowing into a future harvest that only God can measure. When you stay kind in the face of rudeness or generous in a season of lack, you are declaring that your character is rooted in something deeper than circumstances, and don't underestimate the ripple effect. Every act of goodness has a reach far beyond what you can see. That moment you stopped to encourage a stranger, it may have stopped them from giving up. That time you forgave someone who didn't apologize. It may have broken a generational chain of bitterness, the small gesture, the quiet kindness, the unnoticed sacrifice. It all matters. God sees it, God counts it, God multiplies it. You may not see the result right away. In fact, sometimes doing good feels thankless, but that's the difference between doing good and being good. When doing good is just a task, you'll only keep going as long as you're rewarded. But when being good becomes who you are, you'll keep giving no matter what, because you understand the bigger picture. You know that every act of goodness is a seed, and God is the one who brings the harvest in due time. That's why this choice to be a light is so powerful. It positions your life under divine favor. It places a mark on you that says, this one is walking in purpose. And when God sees that, He responds. He opens doors that others can't shut. He makes a way where there is no way. He sends the right people, protects from the wrong ones, and gives peace that makes no sense in the middle of chaos. Doing good is not just about others, it's also about what it does in you. It softens your heart, it strengthens your spirit, it deepens your trust in something greater than yourself. And that kind of inner transformation is exactly what makes you a magnet for divine covering. God isn't looking for perfect people. He's looking for pure-hearted people, people who are willing to do what's right even when it costs them something, people who choose to love when it's inconvenient, people who serve without applause, people who remain humble when they could be proud. That's the posture that moves heaven in a world that says, take care of yourself first. You become a rare and powerful vessel when you say, I'll take care of others and trust God to take care of me. That choice over time builds a life of meaning, a legacy of impact, and a shield of protection that no enemy can penetrate. Because doing good isn't weakness, it's warfare, and when you fight with goodness, you win battles that others can't even see.